You might have partially answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Back in June, I interviewed the two of you and your mom and your Aunt Lynn. And your mom mentioned during that interview that when she first started dating your dad, he had a really close friend who is gay, and that she felt like she kind of had to pass muster and get approval from this man. And that just struck me as really odd that a straight man would have that litmus test, and we're probably talking about like 20 years ago or so. So I'm just wondering, when did you become aware that your parents were so accepting and affirming of gay people and supportive of these issues, and how did that affect your thinking about these things?
Well, I'd like to start off with, my dad is a little odd, just in all sort of senses of the word. But I don't think there was ever an aha moment of, oh, my parents are accepting. When Sarah and I were kids, we had, our parents would have friends over from every race, color, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity. It was just, it was just normal. And I think the first time I realized that wasn't normal was I went to boarding school and Sarah went off to college, and we used to bring our friends home, and they were the biggest pack of weirdos. I mean, they just came from all over the place. And there was no kind of normality to it. And I remember having conversations with my mom about how each friend was different from the next. And that's when I kind of began to realize that not everybody was raised like this. Not everybody just kind of had, diversity just surrounding them at all times. So I think it's just always been something that Sarah and I have always had around us, and never had to really second guess it.
I completely agree with Catherine. I would also say that I didn't learn too much about difference until I learned kind of the language of difference. You kind of learn those words that identify somebody as the other, and that for me came much later in my life, kind of towards the end. I think probably in 7th grade, when actually in Milton, I went to Milton Academy, you had your class size doubles, and people come from kind of more and different backgrounds than before, and people start to identify you. People in your class start to try to get a sense of who you are by kind of maybe what you look like or where you came from, and it wasn't right in your groups and who you hang out with, and it was never anything that I kind of considered my kind of identity, or the fact that we had, our family was made up of, and our parents' friends and things like that were made up of such a diverse group of people until we had those kind of until I had those language identifiers come into my life. Because like Katherine said, we were raised around every type of everybody. So it was, we were very lucky for that, but not something that we paid attention to or knew about until kind of people told us we needed to.